Hello everyone and welcome to today's WWE SmackDown Watch Party featuring myself, Tom Colohue. Tonight SmackDown will feature large focus on the Bloodline, particularly the return to the fold of Jey Uso to essentially protect his brother Jimmy going forwards from the wrath of Roman Reigns, and what a wrath it is going to be. We'll see if Roman can trust that, but we'll also see more from Sami, more from Kevin Owens, and plenty more in the build to Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, Rey versus Dominic Mysterio, and indeed the Bloodline in general getting as involved as possible on this one. This is SmackDown 3 weeks away from WrestleMania, and this is a Tom Colohue section. We are starting with a recap of Monday Night Raw and the betrayal. Well, is it a betrayal between Jey and Sami? Because they've never really been allies. Admittedly, it all got too much for Jey, but who knows what's going to happen next, because Jey Uso is not exactly clearly on Roman's side here. We can't pretend there is a clear battle line drawn after all. Moxie is here on the Twitch side saying, "Yo, Tom." On the YouTube side, we already have Joseph Bridgewood here saying, "Hi, how's your night been today?" The night's been pretty good. Had a chill, had a bit of a lay down, had a bit of a relax, which is always good. In the build-up to SmackDown, which recently has not been the greatest of shows. It really hasn't been. I'm kind of glad Jey Uso is going to be more involved here, because even though he's been on the show, it's been very peripheral, it's been very uninvolved, and we could afford to do a lot more in that regard, just a lot more. Jey Uso should hopefully be reinvigorating what's going on with the Bloodline here. And in the build to WrestleMania, while Roman and Cody Rhodes has been awkward to say the least, the Sami Zayn story has certainly taken off exactly as the WWE wanted it to. And this tag team match seems like it's going to be much, much bigger than the actual World Championship match by the end of it. Traffic says last Raw was one of the better Raws in recent memory, hoping the same for SmackDown. It needs it. It certainly did not start out that way. SmackDown recently has not been onto a winner. Let's just say that. It certainly hasn't felt like a big deal, which is upsetting and not really what we're looking for. Lots of slow piano music here, lots of slow piano music. Moxie says, "Tom, I think Jey only turned on Sami to protect Jimmy from Roman." That is exactly what I've been saying. Yes, Moxie. Exactly what I've been saying. The second Sami turned away, you can feel in the crowd what was coming. They had the hug, but nobody really believed. And why would you? Don't trust the Bloodline. As a rule, just don't trust the Bloodline. They've made this one clear. Jey has already said to Jimmy, "I will always be there for you." Anyone who genuinely believed that hug, I wonder if they've even been watching recently. Jey telegraphed that in every possible way. We knew this was coming. Thomas Phipps says, "That crowd full believed." Wishful thinking, my sir. Wishful thinking. Welcome, Thomas. How you doing? We're having a few connection issues, it seems. Apologies if it's not coming through perfectly for you. Joseph says, "Traffic, I'm going to Raw in June." Right, that explains it. Paul Heyman is backstage waiting for the arrival of Roman Reigns. He looks quite different, Paul Heyman, tonight. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to seeing him from the back. People always look slightly different from the back. Sean says, "SmackDown isn't on for me yet. It's a high school basketball game." Sorry to hear that, mate, because that's not what we're going. It is not Roman, it is Jey who has arrived. He's asking where the tribal chief is. Never trust Paul Heyman, as a general rule. I think we all know that one. Jimmy has also arrived. The Usos are in tandem. Jey does not seem like he's in the mood to talk. Joseph says, "Tom, people think Cena and Austin Theory is going to be the WrestleMania show. Going to steal the show. What match do you think will steal the show for Mania? Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins, or as the aforementioned, the Tag Team Championship match, or of course the Intercontinental Championship match?" Jimmy Uso is clearly focused on Cody Rhodes. towing the Bloodline line, as it were. Jey Uso, not so much. He still has Sami Zayn on the mind, which is telling about where we're heading with this one. I don't think John Cena versus Austin Theory is going to steal the show. I think John Cena matches no longer steal any show. I think, unfortunately, they're outdated now and just aren't that exciting anymore, personally. John says, think Logan versus Seth should open night 1? No, not really. I think Bianca versus Asuka should open night 1. As regards Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins, I'd give it a bit longer. Hell, I might open with a tag team championship match, finish with Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, open the next night with Bianca Belair versus Asuka, and of course close with Roman. I don't think Seth versus Logan Paul is in that spot. Doesn't work for me. We are opening with Drew McIntyre. We have business to attend to as regards the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. Traffic says, not saying it's going to steal the show, but I think people are sleeping on Lesnar versus Omos. Lesnar suplexing a giant, sign me up. Lesnar had some great matches at Big Show back in the day. Lesnar is not what he was back in the day. And I don't think Omos is going to make those suplexes look very good, do you? Historically, not something he's strong at. Hector says, Tom with Mania 3 weeks away. I feel like it's safe to say there won't be a Pat McAfee match. I say he's back for something at SummerSlam. Quite possibly, yes. Or in fact, no match, but he might turn up and be on commentary. I'd be surprised if he wasn't on commentary at some point for WrestleMania. Joseph says, we are 3 weeks away from getting a good party started for WrestleMania. Will be the first time I've ever watched Mania with you, Tom. Well, Joseph, you're in for a treat, because we have a lot of matches to cover, a lot of shows to cover, and a lot of words to say. A lot of words to say. As usual with SmackDown, then, we're opening with a match. And this should be collective carnage. The first two people down are, as seemingly usual, Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross, which is just awkward for everyone involved. Kross is basically the jilted lover who, well, Drew McIntyre went on to bigger and better things, and Karrion Kross is just still sort of there, hovering around him, ready to get beat up at a moment's notice. Joey says, hi Tom, SmackDown is looking like a good show tonight. I would hope so. We've got some good wrestling matches lined up, and ultimately that's all you're really looking for in a wrestling show. At least that should be all you're really looking for. Not just that, of course, but you have the reunion of Jey and Jimmy, and more Roman than ever before. Simon says, not watching SmackDown. Cool. Bye then, Simon. Vegeta says, Gunter on night 2. Not sure on that one. I think John Cena will more likely be night 2 personally. But then it's hard to say, because I think the Tag Team Championship match will be night 1. And the Tag Team Championship match and the Intercontinental Championship match, they're the matches the WWE believe are going to be the most exciting ones. They're the ones that the WWE think could potentially be your 5-star matches. So they'll probably spread them out on both shows. The Melisandre likes Scarlet. So they're trying to recreate her character as a Game of Thrones figure. That's going to be awkward. Christoph says, who do you pick between Drew and Sheamus? I pick Drew, but there might be shenanigans. Drew, definitely Drew. You've got to remember, Drew versus Gunter was the planned match for WrestleMania. I believe Sheamus has forced his way onto that particular match, but I'll take it. James says, Tom, you're a funny man. Do you think someone will be added to Brock versus Omos? No, there is absolutely no reason that would happen. Absolutely none. Which is sad, but we are where we are. Xavier Woods is on his way down. Kofi Kingston is not with him. Interesting, suggests that Kofi Kingston may well be at home resting up. Sean says, I think Blair Davenport should return to Stand and Deliver and attack Roxanne, setting up Roxanne versus Blair in the future. I get annoyed with the fact that so many times a heel will turn up, beat someone up, get a championship match at the next pay-per-view. It happens all the time, and it's not very fun. A brief pop-friendly night there. Nothing sustained, though. I don't like his music, really. Very Vice City. Hector says, Tom, have you mentioned your WrestleMania watch-along incoming? And realised I've been watching your stream for at least a year, and here's to many more. My good sir. Hector, I believe you've been here for more than a year. Is that not the case? Joey says, how will Sheamus get added to the match if Drew wins tonight? Any number of different ways. And Drew McIntyre, after all, could invite him. There could be shenanigans involved with the finish. Or this will not actually be a match that leads to a championship match at WrestleMania. If instead, next week, Sheamus comes down and says, it should have been me, and gets the opportunity that way. Or Adam Pearce just says, you know what, let's just go crazy. Why not? Sheamus next, one down. Joseph says, Tom, I loved your video for Becky and Ronda Rousey for Mania 39. I think it would be another incredible match. And it's always funny because you see so many people say nobody wants to see it, and then every now and then someone pops up and says, no, I'd quite like to see that, and I like that. I like that variation. I like that we have such a diverse range of people as part of this community. All 5 men are in the ring. Xavier Woods immediately goes for LA Knight. Karrion Kross involved with that too. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus clearly have their own thing going on, which is also quite good. I have no issues with that. James says, do you think Roman will lose clean or someone will cost him the win? Well, he's not wrestling tonight. If you mean WrestleMania, I think he'll be losing almost as clean as he can, which is not very clean at all. Not very clean at all. Sean says, Sheamus shouting, it should have been me, like Dolph Ziggler did. Once again, the 2 men are in the middle of the ring, and for me, this very much screams that they have unfinished business. Unfinished business tends to result in championship matches. LA Knight, Karrion Kross, Xavier Woods here to fill spots. The match is not about them. I'd be stunned if they picked up any wins. Simon, it's not a good sign considering you're already starting up with the I'm not watching, but this needs to happen and this needs to happen. If you're not watching, you have no idea what is happening. Vegeta, chill. I've got this. So yeah, to put it simply, Simon, if you're not watching, I don't expect you to be talking about the show at all, because if you're talking about the show, that means you're watching, and that means you're a liar. Joey, I've got this. And we're done. Simon, you're on timeout, 2 timeouts and you're gone. You've been here 5 minutes. This is not a good start for you. Thank you, Traffic, for becoming a channel supporter. I want to say a big welcome and a big thank you to you there. The channel supporter section gets access to all of the members only videos for just $1 a month. And as I mentioned earlier, Joey, once again, I've got this. Don't become an issue with it yourself, okay? It's in hand. Just let it go. As I said earlier on during the show, if you become a channel member, you get access to all of the members only videos. For example, the most recent one is on the WWE sale. We also have a video as to how and when I knew what about the return of Bray Wyatt. There will be more as time goes on about certain shows and certain characters as well. So thank you, Traffic, for becoming a member. Joseph says, what is it to be a member for you, Tom? Well, there are 3 options. There is a $25 a month option, which nobody's taken, and I get it. It's just there in case anyone wants to break the bank, essentially. There is a $1 option, and there is a $5 option. You get access to some custom emotes. You also get access to the members-only videos and the like. As Traffic says, just $1, indeed. Ultimately, it's sort of a tip jar. You can throw in as much as you would like, and if it's not really for you, it's also not for you. I completely understand. My hope is that eventually I will be able to do members-only Q&As. At the moment, there's not really enough members to warrant it. But my intention is to eventually do members-only Q&As, which should be a big help. Yes, James. Says, is it possible for WWE to do PLE in 2 different states in Australia? Heard some news about it. The last report that I made about WWE in Australia, they are currently actively negotiating for 1 pay-per-view in Australia this year. They won't be doing it every year, to my knowledge, much like they won't be doing Puerto Rico every single year. They are negotiating with a number of different regions before we get to the point where they start to announce too many, so we'll be seeing more as it comes. We currently have 26 people watching and only the 6 likes. I know more than 6 of you have been chatting away, so if you do, please remember to hit that thumbs up. Every little does help the growth of the channel. Joey says, will you ever make a website or Patreon in the future to post all of the info on? That is my intention. Once I am essentially making enough money to go full time, I will then start to spread my attention in a lot of different directions. So we'll have this wrestling section. I will also add the Raw watch parties there. Once we've got that, in addition, we will then be looking at the gaming side, where I've got a lot of ideas there, and the football side, where I've got ideas there. But all of that together will take about 25 hours of time. The rest of the time, I will be setting up a website for my reporting. I will be looking to hire people to write up news reports, etc. As regards to Patreon, that's a paywall. And one thing I can promise is that my news will never be behind a paywall. Never. The news you find here will always be absolutely free. Of course, quite often it pops up behind other people's paywalls several days later, but that's just me. James says, I heard Perth, but I don't think that's worth it for WWE Melbourne. Will bring a bigger crowd. Perth is the rumour via Dave Meltzer, I believe it is. I haven't heard any particular province. All I'm aware of is that they are negotiating for a deal in Australia. Karrion Kross is on the attack against Sheamus. Once again, this match is not really about Kross, although to be fair, Kross's entire return to WWE has not been about Karrion Kross and mostly been about Drew McIntyre as well. So the focus is very much still Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. That's where we started. That be where we're gonna end. Sean says, I think we'll get a WWE event in Alaska or Hawaii. Yes, but not for a while. Not for a while. And for Hawaii, I'd imagine they're going to get The Rock involved on that one. Vegeta, I've actually finished Dragon Ball Super. I basically spent one long weekend and watched about 50 episodes. It was fantastic. I had a great time. The Tournament of Power stuff, really quite fun. Hector says, I feel like all these PLEs in different countries is just a part of the global localization that we've heard over and over. I believe the reason you've heard that, Hector, is because I was reporting that one a while back. This is one area, and there are plenty of areas where I don't have much as regards to news and the like. But this is one area where I've been ahead of the curve for a while. Traffic says, I still think Kross needs a haircut. Doesn't fit him at all. Yeah, he's looking very different right now than he has done in the past. Sheamus back in the match. Karrion Kross just trying to be involved at this point, it feels like. Joey says, why haven't we got the NXT version of Karrion Kross on the main roster? Because the NXT version of Karrion Kross was at the very top. In order to be that version, he would have to be at the very top and thus better than Roman, and he's absolutely not the right choice right now. Agreed, Vegeta. Agreed. Joseph says, Tom, what is the football one? So massive, because I say happened, I'm going to the Norwich City and Sunderland game on Sunday. I think I missed something in that there, Joseph. My intention essentially is to do live shows for Champions League games, big tournament games, and transfer windows. That's the plan at this point in time. But that's also the point at which I'm going to start adding people. So, for example, if you want an NXT watch party, I can give you those. I won't be part of it, but I can give you one for this community. I'd like, ideally, for that to be Ed in that one, but potentially if there are other people who host watch parties for NXT, that could be something that may be of interest. On the football side, I may bring someone in to watch certain club games, big club games and the like, and just to be a host with me, or bring someone in to do transfer news as and when it happens. Shorts and the like about this transfer or that transfer. We'd be building something. That's the plan. Kefler, I liked one of them. I did not like the other one. It was clearly a means to an end, but when we got there, the actual fight was fantastic. Eric says, Tom, do you think they send Liv down like they did Dolph last year because they don't have anything for her? At the minute, their focus is not necessarily on in-ring for Liv Morgan. They don't have much for her right now, but that's okay. She is quite recently been a women's champion, and there is still every possibility she'll be involved in that next year. Because of that, what they're trying to do right now is raise her global profile. What this means is trying to get her over beyond wrestling, beyond SmackDown, and that's why she has started appearing at live events. They're trying to make her a very big deal going forwards, and that's how they're going to do so. Once she's established in that manner where she is beyond wrestling, as it were, she will then be pretty much one of those top-level talents that you see constantly involved in the main event. Joey says, should do a co-watch party for big pay-per-views, or maybe let fans join through Discord. Not impossible, but I'm a little bit protective of my platform. After all, the wrong swear word and I get shut down. I get shut down entirely. So I'll be very careful of my vetting. I always like something like that in a multi-man match. There was a pin going on LA Knight and 3 people broke up the pin at once. I always like stuff like that. Vegeta says, Liv is fine where she's at. No, I agree with that. As I said, I just explained what was happening with that. Christoph says, football's my other passion after wrestling, so you're definitely going to have me on that if you do it. Yeah, there's a few people I've spoken to here. When I've raised the point of a football channel, it seems like quite a few people would be happy to come over and jump in the live chats, and that will really help the channel grow from the off. And that's one of the advantages. If I'm at a point where I'm here and I'm already at a very strong level, I can transfer a certain amount of this audience over there, and we'll have amazing momentum from the off. I'll be monetized very quickly, for example. Eric, I'm liking Darwin Nunez at the moment, got to be honest. But he is someone that I've seen a lot of. Vegeta says, Ronda and Shayna get the title match at Backlash, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. As I say, there is every possibility Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler will still be competing for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Last I heard, Ronda, while not technically cleared, was going to be able to wrestle if they protected her. Joey says, I wonder why Liv was ignoring that guy at the Knicks game. She was not ignoring that guy at the Knicks game. She was actually responding and talking to him. She just wasn't particularly focused on that conversation. She may have been, after all, watching the game. I appreciate that, Traffic. I appreciate that. My intention is I'll be at a level at that point where if you're not a fan, don't worry about it. That's the hope anyway. That's the intention. Sometimes dreams don't come true, but, you know, other than that. Sean says, since he finished DB Super, your thoughts on Jiren and Goku going Ultra Instinct? The way that ends is fantastic. The way that proceeds is fantastic. I think it is the best saga that Dragon Ball does. I also think it's very telling about where we're going as a species, as it were, because instead of the 100-episode fights and stuff, what you get is little and often. Little and often is what's going to work for the TikTok generation. Ultimately, it's why the Attitude Era with 4 or 5 minute matches will probably kind of work now, whereas it hasn't done for a long time. Little and often, it's the future. I've tasted it. Hector says it's safe to say Karrion isn't going to win the title from Roman like he stated he'd do when he interacted with the Usos. Not on your life. There is no chance that that is going to happen. Absolutely not. Vegeta suggests, as regards Ronda, just park her on the apron and let Shayna do the bulk of the match. That seems to be the suggestion. Seems to be what people are suggesting, yeah. Joseph says that would be something. I'm very interested. And if it was the World Cup or something, I would love to do that. Could be a lot of fun. I think that would be a perfect time to do so. Eric thinks Karrion Kross are going to win the match. I do not. It's definitely going to be either Drew or Sheamus. I'd be very surprised if it's anyone else. Christoph, I'm not really a militant football fan in that regard. Good football's good football, and I'm not really that concerned elsewhere. Joey says, do you think Cross could end up where Hit Row is if they can't come up with any big creative plans for him? I think everyone could end up where Hit Row is if they can't come up with any big creative plans for them. If there's no plans for you, you're going to be on creative hiatus, and you're going to be going backwards. That's just a fact of life. We are still in action for the Intercontinental Championship opportunity. Eric apparently forgot about Drew and Sheamus. Vegeta says Cross isn't a jobber. You say that, but he's literally been battered by Drew McIntyre since he returned. That's all he's done. Like, occasionally, he's been involved with Rey Mysterio, but the fact that he only picks up wins because of Scarlett, he has not won a single main roster match by his own right. Not a single one. A sit-up Tower of Doom from a Tree of Woe. Love it. Joey says, will you do any watch-alongs for NXT EU when it launches? I will not. If there's interest in that, I will try and find someone else to do it and hire someone who can. Karrion Kross occasionally does win a match. Yes, that is an advantage that he has over Hit Row. It's not a great showing for anyone, though, really, is it? Not a great showing for anyone. I can't imagine this match will last into the second half hour. They like to open with a half-hour match. Drew McIntyre now has his sights set on Karrion Kross, which means that Karrion Kross is going to take a beating. And that's all there is to it. In fact, Drew McIntyre is just destroying everyone right now. I'm starting to feel Sheamus for this one. It's just the fact that Karrion Kross gets no offense on Drew McIntyre at all. He barely even gets a second of offense. Not at all good. I thought McIntyre was going to go for his 1-2-3, but apparently not. Hector says, Tom, do you honestly think Barcelona won't spend any money come the summer transfer window like most people predict? I'm curious to know where they're getting their funds from. They will not be able to register players if they spend money. So, yeah. I would say that's likely. I also don't see anyone leaving, because let's be fair. Joey says Kross's offense is bad. He works a slow style. So does Randy Orton, and yet his offense isn't bad. There are people who suit a slow style. I just don't think many of them are in this match right now. Certainly Xavier Woods is not the guy. Simon the Observer did not report that a while ago. You've got to remember where you are. That was first reported by yours truly. Even during the time when there were reports everywhere that Gunther was going to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, I was still reporting Drew McIntyre was a choice, and now here we are. Traffic says even last week when LA Knight came out, Drew and Sheamus didn't look his way. I don't know if Drew's been told not to sell anything for them or what, but man, it's kind of iffy for me. Drew is being heavily protected in the way that Roman Reigns was when he first debuted. Drew's the guy. The chosen one, if you will, and no one seems to want to accept any alternatives for that. Joseph says, is there a chance that Ray could try and attack Dom? Yeah, there's always a chance of that happening. Dominic would win. Dominic would definitely win. It's very Undertaker versus Kane at WrestleMania 14. Eventually, he will strike down his own family, but now is not that time. Joey says, at least Randy has a better moveset. Kross only does a suplex thing and the submission move. He does have quite a few more moves, he just doesn't seem to get the chance to use them much. That's not really his fault. When people are literally being told don't sell for the guy, it's not a great thing. We have 24 viewers now, but still only 11 likes. If you haven't done so yet, please remember to hit thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. We're currently on 2,185 subscribers. That means if we can get 5, we're up to 2,190. If we can get 15, we're on to that 2,200 that I was looking for. Once again, we are back to Sheamus and Drew McIntyre in the ring staring each other down. Sean said, did you like the saga with Zamasu? Not really. It felt very old-fashioned Dragon Ball. We fight, we lose. We fight, we get stronger, we lose. We fight, we get stronger, we win. It all seemed very silly. Sheamus and Drew McIntyre have won the match. What a surprise. I don't think anyone saw that one coming. Once again, I'd just like to point out, as first reported by the Tom Colohue channel, the match at WrestleMania is Drew McIntyre versus Gunther versus Sheamus. The crowd are screaming triple threat. If it wasn't a triple threat before, it certainly is now. If anything, this is a massive sign of respect to Sheamus. Vegeta says, Kross has lots of moves. Also, Randy only used about 5 moves now. Yeah, but they look good, though. Dom Welcome says, don't forget to hit that like button. I'll wait forward for you. Can you dig it? I'm surprised he didn't put the 5th word in there. Very well controlled. Eric says, why doesn't Paul want anyone to sell for Kross? It's not about Paul wanting to sell for Kross. It's about Drew McIntyre not being someone who sells for anyone. Sean says, still see Gunther winning. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know that's not going to be the most popular of choices, but that is what I think is going to happen. Joey says, have you ever interacted with Alex McCarthy or Lewis Dango? I think they're big wrestling journalists in the UK, right? Alex McCarthy I've worked with in the past. He has accused me of making up scoops. And his examples of that is absolutely nothing. He's provided no evidence or examples because there are no evidence or examples. And Lewis Dango has done exactly the same. And once again has provided zero evidence because there is zero evidence. But people still decide to believe them because of their larger followings. So, yeah, I've interacted with them. I've met them both. Lewis Dango, when he was working for WrestleTalk, tried to recruit me for WrestleTalk. I'm alright, thanks. Where was I? There we are. Joey says, well, that solves the problem. BG says, triple threat? Yes, you reported it. Joseph says, I wonder if Randy comes back. Randy would destroy everyone. Well, if he's Randy, he would be. James says, am I missing something? Where did the other ref come from? The outside. Beyond that, I can't really say much. After all, I don't think they really worked hard on how they were going to make that happen. They just decided to make it happen knowing the fans would be into it. Carmelina says hi. Hello, Carmelina. Traffic says, I don't know if I've ever heard a triple threat chant before. Really shows how well the Sheamus and Gunter feud has gone down with fans. The fans are screaming triple threat to get him involved. Christoph says, triple threat, exactly the way I wanted. Vegeta says, Gunter loses, not being pinned, so we can move into the main event. No worries, Joey, no worries. I know you didn't know. I know it's not coming from a bad place for you. And to be honest, I'm happy to answer the questions. The main reason for these particular accusations against me, which was then followed up by Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp, is the report that NXT UK was going to be closing. This was just before the pandemic really kicked in. And Triple H himself has confirmed that to be true. So not only have they provided no evidence, but everything they've accused me of have been proven wrong, and yet I'm still awaiting an apology. Joseph says, could you see RK Bro getting back together when Riddle and Randy? And when could you see Riddle coming back? Riddle will still be a while yet. As regards RK Bro, I see that one coming back together. There is a video on my YouTube about Randy Orton's return schedule. I advise you to check it out. You may see the answers you're looking for. Eric says, what happened to Pat McAfee after his return at the Rumble? It wasn't a full-scale return. He still has other things to be getting on with. Traffic says, damn Tom, you've been making stuff up this whole time. Keep it up because you get it right as much as anyone else. I'm very proud of my record. Very proud of my record indeed. After all, I don't think I'd be having spoiler warning shows to about 100 people every single time, if not for the fact that I have a pretty damn good record for news. Oh, here we go. WrestleVotes got this one 100% right. After the break, we will have our first inductee announcement for the Hall of Fame 2023. Joseph says, Joseph is talking to someone else. Brilliant. Sean says, I do remember many saying they wanted Sarray to beat Mandy for the title. Then they wanted Cora, then Roxanne. It ended up being Roxanne. I wanted Roxanne the entire time. Roxanne is who it was. Roxanne was the right choice for me. Always the right choice. They are advertising WWE Rivals and a biography of Kane. Traffic says, any idea who the first announcement is? PW Insider have reported that it will be the Great Muta. This would have been part of the deal that saw Shinsuke Nakamura going to Noah to wrestle against him. Eric wanted fire. Okay. Joey says, everyone that wrestled in that Fatal 5-Way worked in Impact, besides Sheamus. Sheamus WWE, born and bred, baby. Born and bred. We have 31 viewers and only the 15 likes. Please do remember to hit the like button when you come in. It really does help the growth of the channel, and I very much do appreciate it. Also, if you like SmackDown watch-alongs, we do them every single week, so be sure to hit subscribe as well, because you're very welcome to join us here. We are currently on a commercial break in SmackDown. Next up is our first announcement of who will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. PW Insider are reporting that it will be the Great Muta, which is a very exciting prospect. Under Triple H, the WWE Hall of Fame is going to be slightly different. So Triple H's intention, from what I've been told, is to make it less of a WWE Hall of Fame and more of a global wrestling Hall of Fame. A global wrestling Hall of Fame, which recognizes talent from all over the world and from all different promotions. This would mean, for example, if Kazuchika Okada retired in the next couple of days, he would be offered an opportunity for a wrestling Hall of Fame position. Under Triple H, they wanted to become the de facto Hall of Fame in wrestling, the definitive Hall of Fame in wrestling. Simon, you've just said that you're not watching. You've just said that you're not watching, and you're now explaining it for like the 15th time. You need to move on, and one way or the other, you're going to. I could not make myself any more clear. Could not make myself any more clear. Eric says, when was Drew in TNA? And Simon's rightly pointing out, Drew is a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I actually saw him locally to me wrestle against Noam Dar and lose when he was a TNA champion. That was a time. That was a time. So we are about a half hour through SmackDown. We've seen Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso arrive. Nothing yet from Sami Zayn, nothing yet from Roman Reigns, though we do know that Roman Reigns is going to be there. His intention essentially was to come in and go to war with Jimmy Uso until Jey fell in line. Jey has now fallen in line, so we'll see how that plays out going forwards. In the meantime, we also have plenty of other things to build towards. For example, we have Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley to build towards. We have Legado del Fantasma working against Judgment Day tonight, so basically a tag team version of what we saw last week as well. We have just seen LA Knight, Karrion Kross, Xavier Woods, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus in action. That is heading into a triple threat at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship. That is a pivot from what was originally planned. The original plan was Drew McIntyre versus Gunther, even while you saw lots of reports that it was going to be Brock Lesnar. There was no plan for that to ever happen. It was always going to be Drew McIntyre versus Gunther, but the success of the Sheamus versus Gunther feud has convinced Triple H to add Sheamus to the match as well. Up next, our first Hall of Fame announcement, and they are now using the 2K23 commercials as sponsorship as well to try and build excitement for that. Michael Cole talking about Battle in the Valley of the Sun. So they are summing up and recapping what just happened. And imagine logically we're about to go to Adam Pearce and McIntyre and Sheamus arguing backstage. Vegeta, Jey was not kicked out. Jey was not kicked out. Jey walked out. We have gone backstage to Sheamus and Drew McIntyre shouting at each other. The Brawling Brute trying to break them up. Rich Holland and Butch, it's rare we see them. They should be having drinks afterwards. That's absolutely fair by McIntyre. That's exactly right. Joey says, did WWE leak out fake info on Brock being Gunther's opponent to throw fans off, or was it false reporting from journalists? I never heard anything about this from anyone. I cannot sit here and say that it wasn't intentionally leaked. It's just not something I personally heard leaked myself. I would question it. Also, I seriously question the source, given that I believe the first person to report it was Zero News. Oh, this is a giveaway. Okay. So, guys, I do want to point out, do you know how I've been saying that the WrestleMania match between Rey and Dominic Mysterio will be a retirement match? Rey Mysterio is going to the Hall of Fame. So that sort of suggests to me that I may have been right on that one. May have been right on that one. Let's do a tweet. Rey Mysterio is the first inductee for this year's WWE Hall of Fame. This explains the wait. It screams Rey versus Dominic at WrestleMania will be Rey's last match. Keep up with spoiler warning, as we've been discussing this one for 2 months. Rey Mysterio is coming down to accept the induction. I'd imagine this will be the moment at which we have ourselves a good old-fashioned Dominic. A good old-fashioned Dominic. That's a phrase that I just said. Christoph says, to be honest about the Hall of Fame, Tom, they've already inducted so many WWE legends that they might start to look up elsewhere for legends, which is also not a bad thing. Joseph says, Tom, I saw something about Bryan Danielson. Don't know if it is true or not. People think he is retired. He is not. It's definitely not true. Vegeta says, Jay White was kicked out of the Bullet Club. Sorry, you don't need to be sorry, because I'm pretty confident of where he's going next, and it's a very, very exciting time for everyone involved. Stuart says, quite rightly, not quite Muta then. No, apparently Peter Insider got that one wrong. Joey says, why is Rey getting inducted when he's still wrestling? It's a good question, that. It's a good question, isn't it? The official induction happens at WrestleMania. Telling. Joseph says, do you think Mick Foley could be inducted? Certainly. Absolutely. He's well deserving of it. James says, Dominic will come out when Rey does his speech. I would say so. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity for Dominic to get involved and really start winding his dad up. Seems perfect for me. Christoph says, WrestleMania will be Rey's farewell match, probably. Spot on again, Tom. Rey Mysterio doesn't seem to have actually decided himself just yet whether it's going to be or not, which may explain why there has been such a delay in announcing this induction. Traffic says, my GOAT is Eddie. He's who I grew up loving wrestling on. Went to my first SmackDown to see Eddie, and he was forced to shake Kurt Angle's hand at that show. Anyways, I might shed a tear for Rey. Thank you, Vegeta McFoley. Already in the Hall of Fame. I was wondering. Strong crowd response for Rey Mysterio. A "You Deserve It" chant from the crowd, loud as well. They are making themselves heard. That is magnificent. Sean says, I believe Ric Flair was the first active wrestler to be inducted while still being... Yeah, it's Ric Flair, though. He never quite retires. So Rey said, wow, this is a moment, and he is immediately interrupted by Dominic Mysterio. I don't need no rundown, guys. I don't need no rundown. This was a prime opportunity, and I'm glad they took it. Joey says, do you think Rey will start wearing a mask when he beats Rey? Do you think Dom will start wearing a mask when he beats Rey? I do not, personally. Ultimately, he's got a very hateable face. He's got a very, very good acting skill in that face. He knows how to contort it into ways that people hate. So absolutely, that's what he should be doing. Joseph says, I don't think John Cena should be on the front of it. I think that should be Rey. Front of what? Do you mean like 2K? Vegeta says, Rey deserves it almost more than anyone. James says, called it. And Eric says, here he comes. Traffic says, if Rey does indeed retire, I have so much respect for him being able to go out on his own accord while he can still perform with the best of them. And he absolutely can. He's slowed down slightly. I can't pretend he hasn't slowed down slightly. But even slightly slower than he used to be, he still stands up to the fastest in-ring as is. Dominic with the low blows already, and I don't mean physical, I mean metaphorical. This, of course, is leading into Judgment Day versus Legado. Legado, including Zelina Vega, coming down to protect Rey Mysterio, formalising that there has indeed been a heel turn. Vegeta says Dom should parade with Rey's mask for a while after Mania. Absolutely, I'd have him put it on his belt. You know how Judgment Day have the purple scarves, purple handkerchiefs? That with a mask would be perfect. No, Simon, Liv is not going to be joining Judgment Day. That makes no sense. Vegeta says, I love Rey a lot. For real, one of the greatest of all time. Kevin says, can WWE induct Gail Kim to the Hall of Fame? Gail Kim, to my knowledge, does not want that. She does not want to be in anything associated with the WWE. We have just hit 50 viewers, which is a pretty damn good number, I will say. We currently have 18 likes. Please remember, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. We do SmackDown watch parties every single week, and we will be doing WrestleMania watch parties as well that you can check out. Plus, you get plenty of news, and you'll get a short every single morning, apart from Sunday, with the latest wrestling rumours right into your inbox. Nice, easy one to work with. Carmelina says, is Roman there tonight or not? Because I didn't see him yet. Jey Uso has been asking about Roman, suggesting that Roman will indeed be there. As Vegeta says, Roman was promised to be there. He was supposed to be here this week to take revenge on Jey Uso by attacking Jimmy Uso. Simon says, Tom, your thoughts on the Gary Lineker match of the day political story main headline news. I think it's completely ridiculous, and I applaud Gary Lineker for sharing his opinion, knowing that there would be a response to it. It is hilarious seeing the people who are constantly screaming free speech and cancel culture trying to cancel someone's free speech. Next up, it will be Dominic Mysterio, and it looks like Damian Priest and Finn Balor. In fact, this is actually a good point. This could be an 8-person tag match. I don't think Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega will be directly involved, but certainly we could see a 6-man tag. It'll be certainly Carnage, which I'm not complaining. A bit of Carnage goes a long way, and SmackDown last week was really missing out on. SmackDown last week just wasn't that exciting. I think we can all agree on that one. We sat and watched it together, and it wasn't that fun. It wasn't that fun. This time round, I think we had a really good opening match with, yes, an expected winner, but predictability is not the worst thing in the world. And I think we've had a good push since for more, as it were. Things are going well. Sean, yes, right, you are. Ray was on the cover of last year's game. I may have misunderstood the question there. I don't pretend to know everything on that one. Christoph says, first time I saw Ray wrestle was in 1996. Who could have predicted such a legendary career almost 30 years later? Eric suggests a 8-person, including Zelina and Rhea. And Joseph says he's retiring. That's the vibe that I get as well. I do think, particularly now that he's been announced as going into the Hall of Fame, I think Rey Mysterio's final match will be at this year's WrestleMania in a loss to Dominic Mysterio. That's just... I've been thinking it for a while. Rey Mysterio on several occasions has indicated that he's looking to retire, but Dominic has talked him out of it. Dominic at this point does not need Rey. Rey's making him better, certainly, but he's got Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley around him, honing his skills, making him better. I think it's time to say openly, hand on heart, he doesn't need Rey Mysterio anymore. So Rey can vanish into the sunset should he want to. Kevin says Gunter versus Sheamus versus Drew. Okay, but Gunter versus Drew McIntyre would be a better match. Well, you never know. Backlash might be the match for that one. Could definitely see that being Backlash. Welcome, unknown FF player. You seem angry. Tell me more. Eric says, we know Dom will get the win to set up his Mania match, but who eats the pin? I would imagine someone on Legado. There is quite a few of them. It just won't be the top guy, as it were. Now comes at the right time to protect Santos Escobar a little bit more than they have been doing. Stuart says, can't go wrong putting Legado in a match. I agree. I completely agree. Particularly this particular group as well. I mean, they know how to make an impact, and they are with the right people to really bring the best out of them. Judgment Day has been a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun recently. A lot of fun. Joey says, do you remember those Raws under Vince where we get like 3 matches on a 3-hour show? Yep. That was a time. Traffic says, as regards unknown FF players, waiting for Final Fantasy 16 to release. Don't worry, we all are. I certainly am. Way back when I started the Twitch channel, I was doing Final Fantasy 7 Remake every Thursday. Back when I didn't have a job. Good times. Vegeta says, yeah, Santos can be something for sure if booked well. I feel at the moment he's doing some favours. He's letting people know what he's made of. He's showing up and showing out, as it were. But we won't see the best of him for a little while yet. James says, WWE should go back in town, put Liv Morgan in Evolution. James, people are entitled to their opinion, as I've said. Joey says, I'm excited to see what Dragon Lee does. Hopefully he will get a push. They're not quite ready for him yet. A lot of people really thought he was going to be in Johnny Gargano's spot, but there was never a plan to do so. And Kervin believes that WWE need a Hall of Fame museum. Certainly I think they sell a lot of tickets. Blue says, do you expect Ray to stick around as a mentor manager? If he does retire from in-ring action, he could help get over Santos. I don't think he will. I think with Rey Mysterio, once he's retired, he's retired. Traffic says, nice, going to be a great year for FF Remake Part 2 and 16, both dropping. Vegeta agrees. We should indeed have a physical Hall of Fame. Sean says, what year do you think the following go into the Hall of Fame? Becky, Randy, John Cena, Alexa, Charlotte, Finn. This is complete guesswork because there's literally no way of knowing this. So 2026, 2028, 2030, 2032, 2034, and 2012. Nailed it. This, of course, is a good opportunity to get to know some of the individuals of Legado a bit more. Santos Escobar has been established, but so far he's kind of the only one, outside, of course, of Zelina Vega, who we are more familiar with. What I will say is that despite Finn Balor being a former Universal Champion, despite Damian Priest being a former US Champion, it is Dominic who gets the loudest reaction from the fans. Dominic gets by far the loudest reaction from the fans, which tells you everything you need to know about the WWE's belief in him. Kevin thinks The Last of Us TV show is getting better. Only one episode left. Only one left. Joseph says, 2K23 Rey Mysterio's had loads of greatest moments. Oh no, I disagree. He hasn't had more great moments than John Cena. John Cena was booked at the top. Rey Mysterio was booked mid-card at best. Simon is asking my favourite era of the Bullet Club, when Jay White had just taken over. There was a good period where you had Kenny Omega, you had Cody Rhodes involved, you had Adam Cole, but once Jay White took over, that was the one for me. Probably before you got Evil Dick, though, which is Evil and Dick Togo, or Dick to go, depending on whether you'd like to order Dick or take it with you. You know? I'll be interested to see if this match goes all the way to the draw segment. I think given that Rhea Ripley's there, it could certainly be a draw segment. You've got Rey Mysterio there. Dominic is getting a lot of attention right now. This could be a draw segment. My suspicion is that the draw segment match will be Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Braun Strowman, though, which would suggest that this match won't last too long. Christoph says it's safe to say Legado hasn't been established. I can't even remember the names of the other two guys. Always forgot. I can't say otherwise, to be honest. I was never too familiar with them as individuals. Kevin says Austin Theory wishes to have Dominic Mysterio's mega heel. Austin Theory still gets plenty of hatred, I can promise you. Joey wants to give this match a lot of time. Well, to be fair, each individual needs an opportunity to get in the ring and do something. And they haven't really had the opportunity to do so. I love Dominic's ink, which is obviously, painted on last second. He usually sweats through it as well. Vegeta says 2013 to 15 Bullet Club was great. Blue has asked me to rank the Bullet Club leaders, and I go very, very simply. In reverse order, apart from now. So, Jay White, Kenny Omega, AJ Styles, Prince Devitt, and of course, now, David Finlay. He hasn't had time to become anything that really stands out to me so far. No doubt he will, and I believe that he will, but I'm going to have to wait and see on that one. Vegeta has the names The Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. Disrespect is real. I never watched NXT. I never watched much of NXT, I should say. For Joey, Black and Gold in 2018 was his favourite. I wasn't a regular NXT watcher, so I didn't know much about these guys. I remember reporting on it when Spud came back. Drake Maverick came back. I remember reporting details of his new contract and how the fans had made that happen. Like, they had personally gone nuts for Drake Maverick, and Spud got a new contract out of it. And that was after he wet himself, and people still liked him. I tell you, that crime promo did wonders for his career. He's gone now, of course. He didn't stay around after he stuck around. A bit awkward for everyone involved. Veggie says, as regarding Legado, they're a great tag team. And Joey says, Adam Cole and Ciampa were huge that year. I do feel there was an element of jumping the shark once we got into our third iteration of Gargano versus Ciampa. Particularly when we got to the moment when they'd swapped sides. So face and heel dynamic was all over the place. There was a bit of craziness around it. There really was. Sean says, what is Tyler Breeze doing for WWE? I believe at the ratings reveal, he said he works for them. He does. He works directly for Up Up Down Down right now, and Up Up Down Down is owned by the WWE. It's owned by the WWE. So he does have a WWE contract. There is interest in bringing him back in as a wrestler, but from what I can tell, he's having a great time as a coach. Just a great time coaching a flatbacks, and he doesn't really want to stop doing that. So overall, he seems pretty happy with where he is, which, as a fan of the wrestler, as a fan of the man, it's all I really want for him. I just like a man who's doing what he wants to do with his life, you know? Simon is saying a lot of women's pro wrestling fans on Twitter are calling Triple H sexist for only having one women's match tonight. Simon, the reason you see that is because you've chosen to surround yourself with people who are going to be calling that out. There is nothing wrong with having one women's match. Don't get me wrong, I'd like more, but the women's division is a relatively small part of SmackDown. Proportional representation is also a thing. And of course, it depends how big the actual matches are. Also, do they know there's only going to be one women's match? I mean, we're only halfway through the show. Vegeta quite rarely mocking for Twitter opinions. People on Twitter are angry. All the time. All the time. Really not worth listening to. Keyshawn Kennedy, welcome, says, what if they made a USA Women's Championship belt and a Women's Intercontinental Championship belt? The issue I personally would have with that, Keyshawn, is that the mid-card championship that they already have, the Women's Tag Team Championship, they keep forgetting about. And because they keep forgetting about that, it keeps being completely swept under the rug, which is awkward. So if they added 2 more mid-card championships, I don't think they'd be giving them any more attention. I think they'd get less attention than ever, really, to be honest. Also, thank you very much, Keyshawn Kennedy, for subscribing on the YouTube side. You'll get a notification every time we go live with our Monday and Friday spoiler warning news shows. Sorry, I'm ripping up paper, my OCD. Our Wednesday Q&A sessions before WrestleMania, and as well, you'll catch our SmackDown watch parties, our WrestleMania watch party, our news videos, and our morning wrestling rumour shorts. Thank you very much for joining us here. Stuart says, Cruz del Toro started at the Cruiserweight Classic as Raul Mendoza, spent a few years jobbing before Legado. Yeah, as I recall, Santos Escobar took off the mask, and a whole new thing was that was smooth. They are very good, aren't they? Joey says, is Tyler Breeze working as a coach at the PC? Nope, he's working as a coach at his own private school, Flatbacks. Simon, in your opinion, they have a point. I disagree. Rhea Ripley powerbombing Zelina Vega into Legado. Rey Mysterio stepping up to Rhea at this point. This is giving Dominic an opportunity to finish the job. The baseball slide into Rey, a distraction. Rolled up, but Rey Mysterio's preventing the count. Priest with the kick. Dominic with a terrible cover. Truly one of the worst pinning attempts I've ever seen. He needs to work on that. Treffy says, quite rarely, once I see anything that sees people on Twitter, it's almost immediately invalid. Brad said, isn't Spud working backstage in WWE currently? Yes, he is. He has been for a little while. He's doing good stuff. Kevin says, AEW only have one women's match every single week. I'm not keen on the whataboutism, to be honest. There are times when WWE does not offer enough focus to women's wrestling. There's times when that's very much the case. But they found ways under Triple H to weave the women into the general storylines. Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega there, for example. It's not all about one moment. It's not all about one match. Sometimes it's about the way you use women in general. And by and large, it's not the problem that you think it is. Joey says he saw what happened to AEW when they added a bunch of titles. Again, bit of whataboutism. Joseph says, I can see by WrestleMania 40 John Cena and The Rock will be inducted. It would be interesting if they were both the top ballot, as it were. They were having to fight for the actual top spot. Hefe, by the way, means boss. Can also mean dad. Dominic is inviting Rey into the ring. Santos Escobar is communicating, we've got your back. Sam believes Rockstar Spud is on the WWE creative team at the moment. Hey Luvens, how you doing, mate? Welcome to the show. So this feels more draw segmenty. The crowd jeering Dominic Mysterio, which is always fun to see. Okay, valid question about the Hall of Fame. I think we're finally getting to the point where even Dominic Mysterio is not comfortable with what he's saying. Oh, there it is. We were always waiting for that one. I should have been Eddie's son. Punch him. Punch it. Oh no, this is getting to me. This is getting me. Punch him. Punch him in the face. Punch him. Punch him. Punch him. Oh, Ray, you bitch. He's right there. He's right there. Notice how both Mysterios have swapped sides now, meaning they're both vulnerable to attack. This is going to be huge at WrestleMania. He went to leave. Okay, he dodged. That's not an attack, it's a dodge. But it's something. I don't think we're really accepting how big this match is going to be at WrestleMania. This could have a massive impact. Massive. Sean says, what is Tyler Breeze doing for WWE? I've already read that one. And Sean says, who inducts Ray into the Hall of Fame? There's a few different candidates. Vicky would be great. Honestly, it's hard to say someone who's been the defining feud for Rey Mysterio. Kurt Angle comes up. John Cena comes up. Batista would be nice. Hard to say. Hard to say. They're advertising the prodigal brother has returned. This, of course, a reference to Jey Uso. Christoph says 2 women's segments on Raw plus 6 women's segments, 3 women's matches, maybe 4 at WrestleMania. Triple H, sexist? I don't think so. Nor do I. Up next is Ricochet and Braun Strowman versus the Viking Raiders. That means, to be clear, so far we've had a 5-man match, a 6-man tag match, and we're about to have a tag match. So we've had 5 people in a match, 6 people in a match, and now 4 people in a match. Starting to feel strange. Oh, the Miz and Maurice. The Miz and Maurice are doing Top Gun. And so they should. Vijit says Rock should have been put in this year in Hollywood, considering he's one of the biggest stars ever in movies. Well, nobody said he isn't going to be. Apart from me, he's not going to be. Kevin says, right now, lack of build between both women's title matches for WrestleMania. They need to up the ante when it comes to Bianca and Asuka. Also, where is Charlotte? Like, where is she? Christoph says Ray versus Dom will be freaking emotional for sure. Already got goosebumps just thinking about it. Blue says Eddie Guerrero has to be Ray's defining feud. It stuck with him so much. It's part of his son's character. True, very true, but unfortunately not someone who can induct him in the Hall of Fame at the moment for reasons we're all aware of. Joey believes Triple H is taking women's wrestling much more serious than Vince ever did. There's definitely more matches now than there was under Vince. Sean says, would Ray have his kids induct him? The WWE would not have that because it's just not a known name, as it were. Wiggly says, does this mean Ray will be the headliner? I personally think Ray as a headliner makes a lot of sense. He certainly has had a legendary career. He is a first ballot level. Wiggly, how you doing, mate? Says, must ask your view on 7-0, as we've not spoken since then. Also, the BBC are a disgrace. Solidarity with Gary Lineker. I agree. I completely agree. As regards to 7-0, it was great fun to watch. They literally just worked around the midfield. Just round it. So easy. So easy. Luvins hates seeing Ricochet together. You mean like, yeah, you only like him when he's having a mental breakdown? Bit mean, mate. Bit mean. Eric says, Zelina a face now? Could be interesting. I've never seen her as a face. Then again, I just came back a year and a half ago. I don't think she's been a face like at any point. But certainly she was playing face there. I don't know how long term that is. But Legado seemed to be a face act at the moment. Balancing out Hit Row, of course. Leuven says, I agree. Eddie and Ray are like KO and Sami. They would always come back to each other. Traffic says, I would hope, I don't know if she's still signed to AEW, but Vicky introduced Ray into the Hall of Fame. Vicky Guerrero was my first thought as well, yes. Leuven suggests as a curveball, Conan. Not an impossibility. They have worked together a lot. Vegeta, when it comes to a build for Rhea versus Charlotte, what I'd like is a build. Yes, I know they've already had some sort of feud, but I'd like them to hype it up. In much the same way that Dominic versus Ray is getting more and more exciting a prospect week on week because of the focus on it, I sometimes forget that Rhea versus Charlotte is happening. Blue suggests Chavo, which is a good shout. Christoph agrees. Chavo would be a good choice for inducting Ray. And Vegeta saying much the same. Wiggly says maybe John Cena might induct him unless they do invite Chavo and Vicky back for one night. That would be very sentimental. Certainly I believe they'll be able to book them if they would like to. Vicky Guerrero is available. Chavo, I'm not sure what his schedule looks like, but Vicky Guerrero, to my knowledge, would have no scheduling conflicts if that is requested. But once again, this may be why it's taken so long to announce that it is happening. Maybe. I don't know for certain. Leuven says, is it Mania in like 3 weeks? Yes, it is. Joe Ridley suggests Dean Malenko. We are currently on 57 viewers and 26 likes. If you've not done so yet, please do remember to hit that thumbs up. It makes a massive difference to the growth of the channel. And subscribe if you haven't already. We are currently on 2,189 subscribers. One more, just one more, to get to 2,190. And then, of course, that leaves us with 10 more from there to get to 2,200. Always nice to see those numbers going up. We are more than halfway through SmackDown. I was wondering where Charlotte Flair was. She's in the office of Adam Pearce. And she's a Smurf. She's a Smurf. Can we please have a Smurf chant? Charlotte wants to wrestle tonight. I always like that they pretend that the show is booked on the fly. The amount of times wrestlers walk in and they're like, yeah, can I just have 20 minutes of the 50 minutes left? Can you just get rid of anything else that might be planned? And they're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we'll bump this person, we'll bump that person. Brad, you're right. As I said, Smurf. Wiggly says Ray had feuds and relationships with a lot of big names, from Cena to Taker to Kevin Nash. Sean says they need to show us Asuka as a heel since she is listed as one internally. She is. Again, I'm starting to think it might be a WrestleMania heel turn. Which suggests the feud might keep going, though I'm not sure Bianca's going to stay on Raw, personally. Wiggly says, I mean, they have plenty of options. If not Vicky or Chavo, As he said, Ray had so many legendary feuds, even having Undertaker do it wouldn't be bad, but it might break the mystique. The mystique of The Undertaker is long since gone. The man has a podcast. It's not the same guy. It's just not. That documentary put paid to any hope of the dead man living forever. Luvin suggests Piper Niven could induct Rey Mysterio into the Hall of Fame. Stewart says, bloody tall, Smurfer. You're not wrong. Blue says, think it would be neat if they mentioned bumping others and that being used to build feuds. I agree with that. That would be really handy. For now, Vegeta, for now. Eric says, they're going to job Liv out again this time to Charlotte, aren't they? No. Why would they do that? Eric, not everything is a personal slight, mate. Okay? Just not everything's a personal slight. You gotta calm down with the expectation of, oh, here's a wrestler I like. Clearly, they're going to be the worst thing that's ever happened imaginable. You gotta stop taking it so personally. It's a TV show. If you're not having fun watching wrestling, stop watching wrestling. Okay? Okay? But actually stop. Don't just say, I'm going to stop, and then keep watching. That's called hate watching. Don't do that. The Viking Raiders are down. They will be taking on Ricochet and Braun Strowman. Valhalla is also there. So far in her time in the WWE since coming back, she has done absolutely nothing. Honestly, when you look at value for money, she may be the least value for money of anyone who the WWE has brought back, because as I say, all she has done is stand at ringside. That's her entire character, is to say a couple of lines and then stand there. That's how she's been booked. It's not her fault, but it's not good. It's not good. Eric suggests Aaliyah inducting Rey Mysterio. Once again, they're going to want someone that the wrestling fans recognise, and that's not really going to work with Aaliyah Mysterio. Very, very brief storyline. Vegeta said she doesn't even help them win, and they're heels. Yeah. It's very confusing. Wiggly, yes, that report came from PW Insider about the Great Muta. They had reported that it was going to be happening like first, and that has not happened. We started with Rey Mysterio, which certainly jumps out. I agree with you there, Wiggly. I won't go deeply into it, but I do agree. Leuven says, quite rarely. To be fair, she was doing that before with Sarah Logan. Yeah. James says, is Scarlett ever going to have a match or just be on the side? Scarlett has had a match. She's wrestled on SmackDown a few weeks ago. It was a mixed tag, but it was a match. I believe it was Cross and Scarlett versus Madcap Moss and Emma. Emma would be a good shout to take on Charlotte. We don't see Emma wrestle a lot. We don't see a lot of people wrestle a lot. Very fast-paced match so far. Braun Strowman's been tagged in, so it's going to slow down now. But it's always nice to see Ivar keeping up with someone the size and speed of Ricochet. Braun Strowman completely failing to get Eric out of the ring there. It's flippy time. Or just toss. Or the big toss. I'd love it if that was the name of the move. They just called it the big toss. Stuart says, to be fair, Muta and Mysterio are similar. They have a mask. Yeah, and that's all you need to look exactly the same. A mask. Vegeta suggests sitting and catering is fun. Scarlett was out front not long ago, to be fair. She was out there in the first match. She didn't help. Wiggly says, what happened to Batista's induction? Batista has not been announced. But the report was that Batista was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. In fact, let's find out who reported that, because I know someone reported it, and I think I recognise the name. So, Batista 2023 Hall of Fame headliner. Now I need to find the actual report. Okay, spoiler from the 21st. Via Wrestling News Premium, so wrestlingnews.co. Batista will take his place in the Hall of Fame. They do not say headliner, so it is still very possible that this will happen. But as I've said before, remember guys, remember. So that was wrestlingnews.co, and if you do remember, you'll remember why I'm skeptical. Sean says, Tom, I've come to a point in my time as a wrestling fan where I want to take a break from WWE for reasons I want to keep to myself. But the outcome of Cody versus Roman will determine if I get my break. Sean, I understand. There are times when I've needed a break from wrestling. Sometimes the fandom might get to you. Sometimes the decisions and the booking might get to you. Sometimes you just need an excuse to have a long sit down. I respect it. Wiggly says, was he not announced a couple of years ago but declined it? He did not decline it, he accepted it, he just wasn't there physically to accept it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm very confused as to why everyone's talking about it, because as far as I know, he's in the Hall of Fame already. We can't always assume Dave Meltzer, Luvens, we can't always assume that. Vegeta says, Ray upstaging Batista again. Eric says, do you think we get Randy in the Hall of Fame cycle? Not this year, no. I mean, he's going to be wrestling again soon. Eric, I'm not sure if you've been watching the videos on my YouTube channel, but there's one of Randy Orton you're probably going to want to see. Luvin says, Kevin Owens gets to me. I hate Kevin Owens. Vegeta is confused, says, KO is great. What, bro? I'm reading this like it's a script. It's like a really important one. Has the planet gone mad? The Viking Raiders are in control of the match. As usual, Ricochet is waiting for the hot tag. Sorry, Ricochet is getting beaten up and Braun Strowman is waiting for the hot tag, which is the exact formula that they always use as a tag team. If they do break up the tag team championships, as I expect they will, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are likely to be on Raw. I think Ricochet and Braun Strowman have a strong shout to actually become the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I think it'll be a while before the Usos get near them again. And when Big E returns, the New Day is going to be doing something very different. Very different indeed. Vegeta says, give Randy more years. I would always give Randy more years. His name is Randy, you've got to respect that. Any man living with that name, particularly, like Randall Keefe as well. That is a tough guy, just to survive a world in which they have that name. Sean says, I'm wondering if Kevin was always going to beat Finn for the Universal title. It was going to be Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor. Roman Reigns was going to stay heel. The pivot obviously came because Finn Balor picked up the injury. But yes, Kevin Owens versus Finn was going to be next up. Drew says, funny thing I heard the other day, some of Ivan Toney's betting charges he was being investigated for were in WWE matches. That's cool. I like that, Stuart. I like how it's both off topic and on topic. It's really quite nice. Vegeta says, I think the Viking Raiders will be champs. Certainly this could be a feud that we could get going. The Teflon Don states that they are a new subscriber. Welcome, Teflon Don. Thank you very much for hitting subscribe. And you'll get a notification every time we go live of our Monday and Friday spoiler warning news show, our Friday SmackDown watch parties, our Wednesday, at least until WrestleMania, Q&A sessions, and beyond that, plenty more of videos and our daily wrestling news rumours. Welcome to the show. Vegeta wants a Brawling Bruce to beat the Viking Raiders. James says, any new matches coming to Mania? Not really. If you look back at my original predictions from right after the Royal Rumble, you'll see that they're very close to being on the money. There have obviously been some changes. Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar both have different matches now. And of course, Becky Lynch has a different match. But by and large, given that I was reporting 14 matches, I'm quite happy with what I've done. Wiggly has prevented a quote from Fightful saying Batista was scheduled to be inducted into the Hall of Fame 2020, but the ceremony was pushed back due to COVID. WWE held a taped Hall of Fame ceremony inside the Thunderdome, but Batista was not part of the class or ceremony due to previous obligations. Ah, gotcha. Batista said in March 2021, by my request, they have agreed to induct me at a future ceremony where I'll be able to properly thank the fans and people who made my career possible. Thank you, Wiggly. You presented your source and a hell of a lot of information. That's great research, and I really do appreciate you for that. Thank you. We are into the phase of the match where Ricochet does a lot of false finishes and kicks out of a lot of stuff. I'm starting to suspect that we'll only have this match and then Charlotte Flair's match afterwards. Lacey Evans, as we know, not exactly getting a lot of love right now, so I don't expect to see her squashing anyone. Though what I will say, if you're annoyed that there's only one women's match, maybe you should be more supportive of Lacey Evans. Teflon Don says, do you think Montez Ford will get a shot at the US title? Yes, I do. I think they're looking to elevate Montez Ford at this point. And I do think, logically, that's a championship that he can be genuinely competing for. Austin Theory and Montez Ford would have very good matches, very nicely diverse matches, where they're both acting very differently and using very different styles of offense. He says, Dom attacks Ray at the Hall of Fame ceremony. Ray attacks him back, setting up the match the next night. Not enough time then for me to put a career on the line, but I still wouldn't be that upset about it. Ricochet going for the hot tag. Wiggly says, I think given the above, we can be confident Ray will be the chief inductee. I would say so, yes. It's Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is not someone who takes second fiddle, and nor should he. Braun Strowman has hit the hot tag. He's coming in. He's beating up everyone. The match does not have long left. Braun Strowman's getting some serious pops. He does not get a lot of hype for a dropkick, but it's a dropkick, and for a guy his size, it is quite impressive. Vijay says Theory and Montez would have a great feud for sure. I wholeheartedly agree. We're currently on 57 viewers and 30 likes. If you're able to, please do remember to hit the thumbs up button when you come in. Hit that like, and that really does help to boost my profile on the... Oof, Braun Strowman cleaned out there. Missed his train. Apparently it was Valhalla's fault. Well, I was complaining she wasn't doing anything. There we go. Every like has an opportunity to ensure that this video goes out wider, goes a little bit more viral, and goes out to more people. That means potentially more subscribers, more growth, and I get that much closer to making a living doing this, which will increase the quality of the content. So, a huge thank you to all of the 1,803 people who've been in this show at least for like 5 seconds so far. Huge thanks to the 58 who are currently here right now, and the 30 who've already hit like. Please remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Ivar with the big splash on Ricochet. That should be that. Ricochet, of course, is a designated loser of the tag team, and he takes the loss. Braun Strowman not in that match for very long and did not make a big impression. Vegeta says people love Braun, and I do too. Teflon Don says if Roman wins at Mania, who will he drop the titles to? He will not be winning at Mania. There is no one else that he could drop the titles to at this point. Dom says, I'm shocked the Viking Raiders won. About time. They have been back for a while. They have been in big, high-profile matches for a while. That is certainly one of the only wins they've got so far. Leuven says, Demon Finn heavier than Ivar. Confirmed. Well, he does go feet first. Just want to say a big thanks because I did just reach 2,192 subscribers. That's just 8 away from 2,200. So if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, please hit that button. Vegeta thinks Viking Raiders should pick up some wins. Wiggly does not believe that Ray will put his career on the line. Thinks it'll be a tag match of some sort. I'm not sure that really works for me. Gunter is laying into Adam Pearce a little bit. It looks like we're about to get the announcement of Triple Threat. Getting a lesson in English. Gunter is a very smooth speaker. I'd imagine next week we're going to have a Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus match. And then the winner of that will go on to face Gunter, but for some reason we won't get a clear winner. Adam Pearce is announcing a match for next week on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. Problem solved. There will undoubtedly be shenanigans in that as well. Logically, Gunter himself will get involved. Charlotte Flair on the way down to the ring now. We are nearly into our last half hour. The whole all hail the Queen thing is not going to keep her a face for long. Like, there's a pop, but it's not amazing. Stuart says, as regards the Viking Raiders match, gotta say, sold that kick lovely. Ricochet is one of the best sellers you'll ever see. Best you'll ever see. Christoph also celebrating the Viking Raiders finally winning a match. As regards Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, Vegeta expects a DQ finish. Well, no contest. Leuven says of Nia Jax's return. I don't want that. I can't sit here and say it's impossible, but I don't want it. And Brad believes that Ray may announce he's retiring himself. Yes, that is certainly a possibility. We have another commercial break before we have a competitor taking on Charlotte. I don't think it's going to be Sonya Deville. I don't think it's impossible it is Sonya Deville, but I don't think it's going to be. A returning Aaliyah would be a good shout. You've got Emma as an option. Shotzi if she's fit. Hell, Tegan Knox. Give me Charlotte versus Tegan. Vegeta. No. Stop trying to summon Nia Jax. It's not fair. It's also not right. Just take your time. I'm curious to see if we're going to see Bray Wyatt. I would suggest that this is going to be the final match, and then we'll get the Roman Reigns segment in the main event. We'll see Jey, we'll see Jimmy, we'll see Sami, we'll see Kevin Owens. But Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley straight after this certainly makes a lot of sense as well. After all, we had them last week. I'd be surprised if we don't see some follow-up this week. That said, what more can you do for that feud? Bobby Lashley just hurts Uncle Howdy again? Doesn't quite fit for where we're heading, I don't think. Christoph says, I think it's predictable as hell. Next week, Imperium will get involved in Drew versus Sheamus. No doubt. I do agree with that. I agree with that. I think, given the fact that the fans were chanting the words triple threat, I don't think they really care that it's a bit predictable. I really don't think they care. I think they just want the match. And to be blunt and perfectly honest with you, so do I. I just want them to announce the match because it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a banger. Leuven believes Bray's on Raw now. Bobby Lashley was on Raw, but he was also on SmackDown last week. So maybe they are transferring it to Raw where there's a bit more time. We'll see how it plays out. Vegeta suggests Ray announces he's retiring at the ceremony. Dom grabs a mic in the crowd and says, no, forcing Ray into a match. This has happened previously. Rey Mysterio has announced his intention to retire, and then Dominic has said, no, whoa, no. Traffic says, I don't know what you can do with Bray at all anymore. It's quickly turned into my eye roll segment. Sadly, I can't disagree. Leuven wants us to give him a bit more time. He seriously jumped the shark for me. Seriously. I'm not going to read that, Wiggly. I'm not going to read that. Be a bit better, mate. Christoph says, 100% agree with you there, Tom. I wanted the triple threat. It's the best option. And as regards Bray, Vegeta says, Bray's had months, which he has. Like, it's not an unfair statement. Bray came back in October, 5 months ago. Since then, he's had one match, and nothing he's done I would consider to be memorable. Certainly in the match, the way he looked was memorable. But for me, that's kind of it. Just wait till after Mania. Now, the fact that he's had to pivot very late in the day to a Bobby Lashley feud, very late in the day, after Mania, as Luvins is suggesting, Bray will get back to something he has written instead of something that's been written for him, as is happening with this Bobby Lashley feud. So we may see what he's going for after that. Blue says, hard to get behind a wrestler who doesn't wrestle, and Bray doesn't wrestle. I mean, you say that, but how many managers? How many managers are there that you get behind? Zelina Vega for ages was an incredible manager. I got behind her, but she didn't wrestle. Wiggly says, regarding Bray, the mystique of Uncle Howdy is gone, and nothing revealing him has any purpose. Let's be honest, Bo Dallas wasn't that popular. He wasn't, but he did Bo leave. I was never a fan of Bray in any of his iterations. Well, if you weren't a fan of him in previous iterations, you just wait for the current iteration, which is very similar to the previous iteration. Yeah. They are once again advertising the Usos reuniting. In the meantime, Charlotte Flair is in the ring looking for a challenger. They are hyping up Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. Though Rhea's work of the moment, of course, is very much backing up Dominic Mysterio. It is Shotzi. And she has her tank, so she's definitely on the good side. Joey says, I like the Eater of Worlds, Bray. I don't like this supernatural and spooky stuff. I was an Era of Wyatt guy myself when he won the first WWE Championship. I didn't like where he went afterwards. I liked his work with Randy Orton and Luke Harper. It had its limits, though. Blue says, if Bray was a manager, it might be better, because he could have his cult he sends out and only wrestle on special occasions, but Bray is a wrestler, and he wrestles less than most part-timers. Vegeta, I would disagree that the Eater of Worlds was supernatural. He spoke supernatural, but ultimately, once the Wyatt family had broken up, and before they reunited again with Randy Orton involved, there was very little actual supernatural to it, until he became the WWE champion, and we got like, with this crucifix, I lay you to rest. It got weird. It got weird. Christoph says, I disagree there. Bray was way more entertaining before than he is now, since his return, in my estimation. Ultimately, for me, I've heard it all before. I'm just kind of losing heart to give him chances again. A Ring of Honor-like start with a little fist bump as well. Charlotte and Shotzi both faces, of course. Logically, this is an opportunity for Rhea Ripley to at least get a little bit involved. I don't think Shotzi's going to win, but certainly it's an opportunity. Joey says he's wrestled normal matches and acted like a human. He's all over the place sometimes. All over the place. That's true, Vegeta. That's a fair comment. Of course, he was always under the ring. Like, we all knew it. I would love it if that was the actual storyline. If in the end, after all of the disappearing and all the vanishing... You know how every now and then on TV shows you get like a bad magician? I'd love it if the whole Bray Wyatt character ended up being an accidentally bad magician. So that you had the disappearing and then you just see his face pop up behind the apron like... Just because. I like weird storylines, alright? I once wrote a storyline involving the Fashion Police and Luke Harper and called Luke Harper Sex Machine. I get bored and I write things and it's strange. Just let me have my moment. Stop judging me. Wiggly says, Bray appeared to get the endorsement of Undertaker, so he's going to be a long-term big deal. Rhea Ripley's on her way down to the ring to interrupt Charlotte Flair in what looked like it was about to be a squash of Shotzi. As regards the Undertaker endorsement, it didn't mean anything, let's be fair. Do you remember when The Rock endorsed Roman Reigns? Didn't really work out for anyone. No, Wiggly, Carrie's saying he's not meant to be returning one day soon. I believe there is a hand injury, Wiggly. Hand or an arm injury at the moment that Bray is struggling with. So Rhea Ripley has not managed to distract Charlotte in any way, shape or form. Pretty standard with Charlotte. We're heading into another commercial break. I do like how important Dominic and Rhea have been to SmackDown for the past few weeks. Do you mean the Hall of Fame? I'm not sure what you're saying there. We are into the last 25 minutes of SmackDown, and by all accounts, view-wise, it's been a very good day. We're on 2,328, and I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's dipped in, said hi, and been a part of the show today. Sean says, do you think there's anyone else that could beat Bianca if she beats Asuka at WrestleMania? Yes, Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, Ronda Rousey, basically everyone on SmackDown side. They've kept her apart from a lot of people. Ronda Rousey versus Bianca Belair is definitely something Vince has been dreaming about for a long time. Bianca's not exactly the superhero that John Cena was. She is beatable. Certainly she's been built real strong. But she is beatable. And I do think a bad day is a bad day. And there will be moments. Yeah, Vegeta, I don't watch AEW regularly. I watch it pretty randomly. Joey says, how many wrestlers do you think will get called up without naming anyone? 3? The thing is, because Triple H brought so many people back, there's not much room anymore. And if there's not much room, who are they actually going to use here? They need to bring people up and actually use them. And my worry is that, like Leuven's just suggested Carmelo Hayes. Do you think Carmelo Hayes is just going to replace Ricochet in the tag team with Braun Strowman? He ain't going to go much higher very quickly. Tricking it, he'll work against Gunter. That'll be good for Gunter. Work against Dominic Mysterio. Kind of kills off that momentum from beating Rey at WrestleMania. Hard to say. Leuven's, I think Braun's probably the one who's going to get called up. Just because, my God, they need to get him out of the championship and out of that division. Quite often under Triple H, you will see people shipped out of NXT. Not because they have any plans for them on the main roster, but because they just don't have any plans for them anymore in NXT. Ty Dillinger is a perfect example of that. Leuven's wants Hayes and Dijak to join the Hurt Business. Be interested in that. I certainly still think Baron Corbin has got an opportunity to get involved in that as well. We have a hype package for Finn Balor versus Edge. Finn Balor, of course, wrestled earlier and they didn't really mention it then. Leuven says, I think Karrion and Jay White and Dijak will be a faction. Is there a connection there I'm unaware of? Oh, they're also advertising Brock Lesnar and Omos. You better reinforce the ring, they say, after late last year, they said about Brock Lesnar and Omos, you better reinforce the ring. And then when it was Bobby Lashley versus Omos, they were like, you better reinforce the ring. I think they might need to reinforce the ring, guys. The match between Charlotte and Shotzi is ongoing. The crowd is... they're into it. They're kind of into it. If the match picks up, I'd imagine they're going to be more into it. Dominic says, is Roman going to defend his title at Backlash? No. Joey says, I can feel a NyQuil kicking in with Omos and Brock. Okay. Leuven saying, no connection, they just have a similar vibe. I disagree entirely when it comes to Jay White and Karrion Kross, I'll tell you that. Eric, I can't imagine that because I've never really seen much of House of Black. Also, Bray is as a follower, not really a thing you'd expect. Sean says, is Ty Dillinger someone Triple H would bring back? Nope. Very unlikely. By the end of his time in NXT, there was just no interest in using him. Then he came up to main roster, and he was like, 10. And everyone was like, okay, now what's your personality? 10. Okay, so like what? Any character traits? 10. Can you cut any promos? 10. Don't say 10. 10. You're fired. They gave him absolutely nothing to work with. The only thing he did in his entire time on the main roster was say the word 10. It's not enough. It's not enough. Charlotte continues to dominate Shotzi. Shotzi, of course, only there to make Charlotte look good. Shotzi is not someone who's going to be working WrestleMania this year. Absolutely no reason for it. Vegeta believes Jay White should be alone for a while, then in a group. The WWE Universe needs time to learn about him. I agree. Given the matches against Seth Rollins to start with, then a couple of matches against AJ Styles, then I'd put him in Judgment Day alongside Finn Balor. Then I'd have him try and take over Judgment Day and just go nuts. Just go nuts. For some reason, the bottom of Shotzi's shoe is being blurred out. I found that very interesting. I expect there may be branding on her boot, but it's being blurred out. Charlotte Flair, of course, picks up the win. Rhea Ripley is just sort of there. I'm okay with that. Absolutely fine with that. Traffic says, how many more seconds do you want a job? 10. James says, will Charlotte ever take over her dad's amount of titles? Yes. Juan Orozco says, hey Tom, where do you see Taya Valkyrie going? There's some reports that she could be debuting in AEW. I don't know, but if there's reports that she's debuting in AEW, she might be debuting in AEW. Dominic says, is there going to be a draft? Yes. Last I heard, and last it was reported by other journalists as well, it was going to be right after WrestleMania. Veggie says Charlotte will definitely pass her dad if she wants to. Even if she doesn't want to, she will. Leuven's not sure. Johnny Elite, as it were, tends to be a bit of a nomad, so I can't guarantee anything. Disrespect from Charlotte to Rhea. For once, no Dominic. Okay, Rhea, you... need a little bit more from Rhea here. The fans are starting to wat her. Yeah, the fans not really into this promo. She is a heel, so you'd expect them to be getting on her back a little bit. But this promo's real slow. Yeah, that was not a great promo from Rhea Ripley. She needs to up the pace a little bit. Charlotte showing a bit of respect to start with. The fans not sure whether to really support Charlotte right now. She keeps highlighting that she gets booed, and really, if you want to stay a heel, stay a face, just stop reminding people that they used to hate you. Definitely flubbed a line there as well. Don't say bloody. Only certain people can say bloody. I can say bloody. You cannot say bloody. It's not right. It was okay. We saw some progress. It was okay. Luvens wants to see Johnny Elite and Taya Valkyrie versus Sami Zayn, Tay Conti. Okay. Okay. 15 minutes left of SmackDown. The Usos combined head down to the ring. This will be our last commercial break. Roman Reigns has promised to be in attendance. Roman Reigns' entrance will take more than 15 minutes itself, so we may have an overrun here. Logically, you'd expect Jey Uso to reaffirm his love for the Bloodline, Roman Reigns to come down to accept, and then Sami Zayn to get a cheap shot somewhere. Just somewhere. Wiggly says, Tom, who would you like to see inducted who isn't in there yet? For me, Victoria, Gail Kim, very unlikely, Sid, the Nasty Boys, Michael Cole, Charles Robinson, Floyd Mayweather, or Cyndi Lauper in the celeb wing. There is one name that I will always say when this question is asked, and in fact I've already said it 3 times today. China. China is the one, for me, who fully deserves to be there as an individual, but for some reason is not there as of yet. I would like to see that change. Traffic says Charlotte versus Shotzi was our main event match. Okie dokie then. To be fair, when our main event is the Bloodline, you don't need to wrestle a match. The main event match was indeed Charlotte Flair and Shotzi. Good opportunity for Shotzi. She'll be able to say she's had a main event match on SmackDown. Luvin says Roman might already be in the ring. Fair. James still a big fan of Drew McIntyre's tribal queef line, which for some reason didn't stick. Eric, you don't get to say breaking news if you don't give us a source. You need to work on that, mate. You need to work on that. Breaking news without a source. Seriously. As we're heading into our final 15 minutes, please be aware that we have 57 viewers and only the 39 likes. If you've not yet done so, you are running out of time to hit that thumbs up. It's a great way to support the channel. It takes very little effort. And there's a few other ways you can support if you'd like to as well. There are super chats where you can give direct donations. There are channel memberships for as little as $1 a month. Or $5 a month is another option available to you. And of course, if you've not yet done so, please consider hitting subscribe. We continue to grow overall. It's been a very good day when it comes to subscriber numbers. We are currently on 2,195, just 5 away from 2,200. So please consider, if you've not yet done so, hitting that subscribe. Blue says Mania IC Triple Threat also makes it unique. Right now, it would be the only match of its on the card of its kind. It would definitely make it stand out a lot more. A lot of people were talking about stipulations for matches, when in reality you could just have a variation of different match styles. Some stipulations, certainly, but not all of them. Vegeta says it didn't catch on because he's our tribal chief and deserves nothing but respect. To be fair, kind of accurate, yes. Kind of accurate. Dominic is asking, is the Iron Sheik in the Hall of Fame? Christoph has answered, saying the Iron Sheik was inducted in 2005. One of my favourite things about this community is that we always work together to answer whatever questions people have. If anyone is unsure about anything, we'll all jump in and try and make sure that you have the exact details that you're looking for. Again, one of the things I love most about this community is that we work together to make sure we know as much as we possibly can. Wiggly says Mothead should have been in there too, as maybe Limp Bizkit, but the form with 2 members dead won't happen anytime soon. Also says The Weeknd did provide the theme for 2 Manias, maybe him. Don't forget Tiny Temper did the theme for WrestleMania 27, I think. I think you're scraping the barrel, mate. I think we can do better than that. Eric, I saw. Just because I don't read it out loud doesn't mean I don't see it. It says, Tom, remember when watch parties were me, you, and a few others? Yes, I do. I still remember the days when I felt really, really proud to have 5 people watching. And I was thrilled with that. At our peak, when we were just on Twitch, we were getting 8 to 10 viewers. 8 to 10. You're right to point it out, Ed. Every now and then, it's important to know where you came from and how far you've come. And Ed, I wish for your NXT watch parties to grow like these have. And get to the point where your NXT shows, your OLE shows are such a strong community as we have here. This family that we have here. Wish you all the best for you, mate. You've been here since the beginning, literally. The first of everything. First of everything. Christoph says, when did you actually start doing live streams, Tom? It was 2021 and it was the 15th of January. We've been going for just over 2 years. At the end of this year, I essentially decide if I want this to be my long-term plan. If it is to be my long-term plan, it needs to be basically financially viable by the end of this year. I've set myself certain targets, and if I don't meet them, I will have to seriously think, do I have to do something else? We got a recap from Raw last week of Cody Rhodes stepping up to the Usos and protecting Sami Zayn. I have been talking about that. That is the endorsement of Cody Rhodes from Sami Zayn. They're trying to transfer Sami's heat to Cody Rhodes to get some more popularity behind him. Joey says, we're not getting a triple threat match then. We'll get a triple threat match. Give it time. Give it time. Sergio Valdez says, who's your favourite wrestler? Right now, Jay White. Very much Jay White. Historically, it's been Triple H. You are very welcome, Ed. Eric, I cannot explain that. I don't know enough about the law in Canada. I'm in the UK. I don't know enough about the law in the UK, to be honest with you. Jey Uso has something to say. The fans want to say Sami. Jay lets them. It's important that if someone's chanting Sami, you let them so Sami can get over. I have no idea, Simon. No idea. There's an intensity on Jay's face. I don't think he's particularly happy with himself. That's a shame, Sergio. You're not going to see a lot of Goldberg. I see. You have multiple favourite wrestlers. That definitely means I believe every single one of them is true. One says, who's more likely to leave, Young Bucks or Omega? At the moment, neither of them. Jay asking the question of the audience. Of the crowd, I should say. That's how we work it here. Would they yield to Roman? He's talking about supporting his family. All of this is very true. And very well acted. Jimmy just looks smug, and that's not really fitting what we're doing here. Jay looks like he's harped up on adrenaline. He is going crazy. Still no sign of Roman. No sign of Sami either. Be interesting to see if Sami and Cody go on the attack here. Simon, you've asked that question about 50 times. About 50 times. You're not asking for an opinion. You're not asking for my opinion. You want me to say, tomorrow she'll be the champion and she will be for the next 20 years. You're not getting it. Stop asking the question. I remember what you asked me. I'm not stupid. Jey Uso is blaming Sami, logically. No blame for Roman for some reason. Jimmy's turn. The idea they've gotten rid of the Sami Zayn problem is very presumptuous. They are trying to steer the conversation to Cody. I don't see it working. I wasn't wrong, was I? No Roman, but we do have a Cody Rhodes in attendance. Blue, that's probably a conversation for another time. I could certainly make a video on that, but that would require me to actually look at the list and all. So I would definitely say that Jey and Cody are future world champions. I'd give it to Sami as well. James says, I like false advertising. Well, I mean, if Cody's about to get speared, it's not entirely false advertising. But he's got to wait for the whoa-oh. Wait for it. Whoa. Okay, so the song's over. Now we just need to work out if Cody's over. Leuven's also adding a whoa. Vegeta says, I tend to think if news goes silent on wrestlers, they're likely to go to WWE, seems like. Leuven's is enjoying seeing Cody. Blue says, Cody isn't my favourite, but I do love how much kids seem to be into him. The fans are definitely into Cody. And Cody seems to be in the mood to scrap. I said last week we needed Cody to get a lot more physical. Cody's just distracting you. Sami Zayn's going to be on the attack. You know this, surely. Joey's saying, I love when the fans sing Cody's song. He's taking off his tie. The fans have seen Sami. There he is, going straight for Jey. Jimmy turns around to spot him. Where's Cody? There's Cody. Now, I initially spoke about it at Elimination Chamber, the idea that Cody Rhodes would be rescuing Sami Zayn. Here we are in action. Essentially, the WWE have recognised that they're not doing a good job building Cody Rhodes because Sami Zayn's heat is for Sami Zayn. And everyone wants to see Sami versus Roman. So what they've done is they've paired them up. In much the same way that when Ronda Rousey returned, there was a huge amount of heat behind the idea of Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. And then Ronda Rousey returned and the match was transferred to Ronda Rousey. So Sasha Banks was paired up with Ronda Rousey, was told, you're going to work in a tag team now. She didn't. In the end, Sasha Banks chose not to, and I respect that. But that was an option. And that's what they tried to do. Thank you very much, Rafo Kemitani, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. You'll get notifications every time we go live, with spoiler warning on Mondays and Fridays. Our SmackDown watch parties also on Fridays. The WrestleMania watch parties are coming up, and you also get in your inbox, first thing in the morning, a set of daily wrestling rumours. A 1 minute long short, which gives you all you need to know about the day before of wrestling. Sean says, I listened to Triple H's first theme, Blue Blood, at work today. It's a great theme. I do remember that quite fondly. Wiggly, that's I'd definitely like to go to Tokyo, Kyoto in that area. Bloody hell. Yes, Wiggly, there's always been a Peaky Blinders feel about him. Definitely been a Peaky Blinders feel. Leuven says, I feel like all those nights staying up 4 a.m. to watch him in Japan will be worth it at WrestleMania. Vegeta says Cody's so over right now. And it says if Cody came out of a box, he'd be over. That's apparently from Jim Cornette. Wow, that's a thing. Eesh. Vegeta believed that Solo and Roman were in waiting. They were not. There was no sign of Roman Reigns there. A bit of false advertising indeed. Joey says, why are they taking so long to get KO helping Sami against the Usos? Because they don't want them to immediately pair up. They want that moment, much like with the Shield way back when they just teased it, and teased it, and teased it, and teased it. Joey also says, will you ever go to a WWE pay-per-view in the future? Probably yes. But to be blunt, my plan is to make a living by watching the shows. And I watch the shows here with you guys. If I'm going to make a living doing that, I should probably watch the shows and continue to do so here with you guys. Vegeta saying, no, Roman. I'm sure Roman had a reason, but Christoph loved the moment that we had. So what did everyone think of SmackDown? Did people like it? I certainly think it was much, much better than last week. Absolutely a huge increase in quality from last week. Largely because last week was just a bad show. It did not deliver what it required. It did not hype up much. Roman Reigns demolished Cody in the promo. Luvens, I will not be sticking around for Rampage. I don't watch Rampage. Traffic says it was better than last week, but nothing special. Certainly, as usual, the Sami Zayn part is standing out. The fact that Cody Rhodes is now more involved. I do feel the opening match was good. I like what's going on with Drew McIntyre. Sorry, one sec. I like what's going on with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus in the build to their triple threat with Gunter. The crowd are certainly into it. Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio are doing very, very well, though the actual wrestling match leading into it wasn't so great. The Viking Raiders picked up a win. So I feel it was a good show and a developing show for a number of people. Shotzi maybe not getting the rub of the green. I don't feel the promo between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair was particularly enticing. I wanted to see a little bit more with them. I don't think Rhea really did the best work she's ever done in the promo division there. She does need to speed up the pace a little bit. But there are a few people beyond Roman, for example, who I feel are really hitting the mark. Just really hitting the mark very, very well. Dominic Mysterio has added a lot to SmackDown since coming over. He really has. While Braun Strowman's a novelty act at most right now, at least it's interesting. Still, no sign of Roman, nothing from Bray Wyatt. There certainly does seem to be a lot of people shifting over to the Raw side at the moment, just because you get a bit more time that way. And while we are building well to the Intercontinental Championship picture, still no Ronda Rousey, still no Shayna Baszler, still no build for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Leuven's quite rightly saying Dominic had an underrated promo against Charlotte 2 weeks ago. Christoph says slightly better than last week. I agree. Still not great though. Wiggly believes SmackDown was okay and a 6 out of 10 show. The wrestling quality was good, but we can expect that week in, week out now. And that's the thing. We knew that Triple H was going to increase the wrestling quality. We knew that. We were not surprised by having that happen. So it's a higher bar to clear now for good quality wrestling. It's a higher bar to clear. Christoph says, I think we just have to accept at the moment Raw is a better show with a better roster. We have reached 2,197 subscribers. If you've enjoyed this show, please do consider hitting subscribe and making sure you are here for the next one. In the meantime, we will be back live once again on Monday with spoiler warning. Until then, I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.